In a former video, I talked about the idea of micro schools, rapidly growing micro schools, intentionally small K-12 schools serving a niche population. But this concept is not just limited to K-12 education. It's also a movement that's gaining traction in the higher education space. And we call these micro colleges. What I'd like to do in this video is just give you a brief working definition or description of a micro college. There is no one uniform shared definition. So what I'm giving you is one that comes a bit from me, my own research, my own approach to categorizing this distinct model of education that's been around for a very, very long time. In fact, micro colleges have been around from the beginning of American higher education. So a micro college is, first of all, intentionally small. In other words, it doesn't aspire to perpetually grow its enrollment larger and larger and larger. And I've chosen a number that I would propose that we use to think about micro schools, but I certainly wouldn't suggest that we just rule out any school that's slightly larger than this, because there are certainly schools that have many of the traits of what I'm calling a micro college, even though they are a little bit larger. So I would say that it's intentionally small, and it has a planned and viable financial model that allows it to operate and remain sustainable at 500 or fewer students. Again, there are colleges that are a little bit larger than that, but once you get into the 750 to 1,000 mark, there's a kind of scalability that happens, and it's a different dynamic in terms of how you think about college. There's a little more room and space for more support staff and administration staff and so forth. So I like to suggest that thinking about a micro college at that 500 or fewer range is useful for our thinking and our categorization purposes. A third trait is I would argue that micro schools almost exclusively, K-12 and higher ed, so a micro college has a strong philosophy or theme that permeates the entire community. This is different from the university or the multiversity that seems to have this myriad of broad philosophies and themes, and even within an individual department, you will find wildly different philosophies, ideas, and practices. It's often sort of individual professors do their own thing, and sometimes they have some kind of shared goal or value, and they may resonate with the shared mission of the organization, but it's not really this sort of shared vision, this people moving in the same direction together. That's rare. But in the micro college movement, that's different. You'll find classical micro colleges that all embrace a shared commitment to classical education. You'll find ones that are committed to social justice or a unique approach to learner-driven education. You'll find a wide variety, but there's some kind of shared philosophy or theme that everyone supports, even though there may be a diversity of opinions and viewpoints within that. Another trait of a micro college is that, again, counter to the university or the multiversity, a micro college has an intentional niche. It's not trying to be all things to all people. It is trying to meet a distinct need or a small set of needs. That's why micro colleges typically have a smaller number of programs. And practically speaking, it's because of the size as well. It's hard to have 35 programs if you're 500 or fewer students. Otherwise, you're going to have programs of just a few people, and that's rarely financially viable or sustainable, although there may be ways to make that happen. So again, they tend to have some kind of niche, and they don't tend to have a wide array of extracurriculars and other activities. The modern university is more than just going to get an education or have this educational learning pathway. It has created this entire community of clubs and extracurriculars and athletics and other kinds of events and organizations. There are research units, other groups like that. Those are rarely a part of a micro college concept. The micro college has a niche. It stays focused on that niche or a small set of them. Another one then would be there's a tendency in micro colleges to emphasize deeply human concepts, values, and traits. So there's less interest or intrigue or fascination or pursuit of things like scalability and mass production, and even the contemporary obsession with measurement and contemporary ways of talking and thinking about assessment. While assessment certainly is a part of many micro colleges, there tends to be a greater emphasis upon things like the pursuit of wisdom or wonder, mystery, deep learning, mastery. It's about these deeply human phenomenon that are part of the learning community and learning experience. And those are really front and center. Those are the things through which policies, practices, decisions are sifted. So that's the concept of a micro college. I'm going to create another video that will talk about some of the barriers of launching a micro college, and I'll put that in as a follow-up to this one. So that's all I have for now. If you're interested in this kind of content, go ahead and hit the like button and follow the channel.